Remember the first time you played catch with your dad? I don't, because he left me at birth. But the point is, you probably sucked at throwing the ball. You were like left-handed, and he was like, good job, kiddo. Keep at it. You sucked for a while, but eventually you got better enough where you could sting him in the tooth. And he's like, ow, son, take some heat off that thing already. You got better with time, unlike cameras. I hate you all.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
Not gonna lie to you, I just saw a beaver with a short fuzzy tail and a bunny of some sort. Video coming soon. Sony, all the way. We're on the X3000. There's sunlight. I always forget if it overexposed me too much or was it underexposed all the time. I felt like it was both. You could never like, okay, always do -5 EV in here and then you're perfect. It's like, I look back at the footage, it's always dark or like super white skin. That's not racist. We have the X3000. Thank you so much, my friend, for donating it to the channel. And initially I was like, I'm done with that, but I'm not done, apparently. Today's audio is brought to you by human ambition and desire for improvement. There's a tiny little mic jack in here and it's a little hot. It's a little hot, not gonna lie to you. They didn't fine tune those preamps. There are lav mics that can plug into this thing and not blow out your ears, but this is the audio for today. If that's not good enough for you, mute the video, continue to watch it, and leave your room. Make sure your computer sees it. So let's talk about why some camera companies abandon good ideas and also seem to make worse products over time. I wrote down several examples of this. The first is going to be this glory beast, the Sony X3000. Sony had the perfect vlogging camera in this. Like, you could not get better. It's a little dated. The image is a little over sharpened, but it's a fairly low megapixel machine here. 1080p, it fits in your pocket literally, even with your little mic, lav mic, or I clip it on here. The stabe, decent. Optical, you could do it in low light and there's none of that artifacty stuff. So good. Slow motion, 240 frames in 720p. It doesn't look good. You have this ultra-wide 17mm lens, and you can do digital active stabe with the optical. The formula is complete. Mic jack, what more could you want? So you would think that Sony would now improve on their own formula. They know what to do. This is it. Just like, okay, we're making it bigger sensor, lower megapixel, of course, better specs, 4K 120, okay, let's update this thing, let's beat the GoPro surfer boys at their own game with the sharks. But they're not doing it. Every little iteration has gone away from this formula. The RXO 24mm now. Let's not continue on that rant. We've been down that road before. It angers my soul. I've made the video. Is Sony that out of touch? Go watch that for Sony's breakdown of what the hell are they doing, how they get worse and worse for vlogging cameras. I don't get it. So they have the formula, they continue to abandon it. It hurts me. Little side news, I was looking for accessories for the X3000. I saw something that I've never seen before, a little clip-on thing that I can put filters on. The only problem with this camera was the bulbous lens. There's no way to protect the damn thing, so it gets scuffed and fingerprints easily. I better be perfectly exposed with you pointed at the sun. If I'm not, oh, there's gonna be comeuppance. So once that arrives from China by steamboat in 7 years, I will review it. First the GoPro 11 and see both glimmer glass in their abilities. Dare I dream it? So we all know Sony is used to abandoning their children from former marriages. Who else does that? Everyone? Think about Blackmagic, the OG. like cult following. I thought Fuji had a cult following. No. Blackmagic invented the cult that Fuji follows. That's how cultish they are. That image, I'll tell you, look at those roses. They're tulips. Look at the dandelions, the colors, something about it. I hate it. I hate using the camera. It's so irritating to my soul, but I need it. I need it in my life. I want to learn. I want to be better as a human to deserve that camera. That thing was special. Have they updated it? No. It's been like, what, 10 years? They're not even close. They're getting further away from the formula. The Blackmagic 4K, okay, it was good, but I heard a lot of people say the image is not quite the same filmic magic. It was a Fairlight sensor or something. It was a magical sensor they used in the OG. And that's why I ended up getting that over the 4K, because some YouTuber said, no, this is more filmic. And he was wrong, probably, about a lot of things in his life, like what to eat, how to date, how to not step in slimy mud, frozen Canadian mud. You're wrong about everything, Jimmy. I always hate this part. There's mud everywhere. I gotta balance on logs. I'm always carrying this thing. I'm wet. It's hot. It's hot and cold. One day this is not gonna end well for me. Let that not be today. No, not today. So, Blackmagic. When you're talking about the 4K, okay, that's the one to be upgrading here. You had the micro four thirds mount. People were using speed boosters to Canon glass. You're almost full frame. It's like, okay, let's update that thing. What do? A 6K with an EF mount. Bigger sensor, but because you can't use the speed booster, it's actually smaller. What are you doing? EF mount? Come on. You're updating the wrong ass lineup. Imagine a 4K Pro with a flippy screen. I wouldn't want to imagine something like that. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh yeah. We're doing it. I get that there's a use for 6K. I'm not saying it's unusable. It's kind of nice when I do the GoPro, I can reframe, and cropping in is like, okay, we got the extra resolution. I understand it, but it takes away from my 4K is the problem. If you're doing RAW, now you have to crop to get 4K. If you're not, the frame rates are not going to be as fast because there's too much data. Imagine an 8K sensor trying to do 4K 120p. It's like double the data as it should be. It's a term. The kids are saying it. I've heard them say it. To help you visualize this, the Nikon Z8, 45 megapixels. Sony a7S III, 12 megapixels. 4 times the data. So you have a man carrying a bucket of frozen fish heads. He gets weak. They thaw out before he can even sell them. They're rancid. Yeah, didn't think of that, did you? Whereas the lighter man only having 12 fish heads, he got to the market, didn't he? And he sold the fish. Everyone I've talked to said the Blackmagic 6K has worse 120p than the 4K did. That's not even true. I've seen the side-by-sides. The 6K was better, but this doesn't debunk my point, is the point. That brings us to the Nikon DL series that never came. They teased us. They even announced it and showed all the pictures of the camera, and they just never actually produced it. What a bunch of shit. That's still ahead of its time. It would be outperforming the hell out of this. An 18 to 50 on a 1-inch sensor. It wasn't perfect, don't pretend it was. It didn't have a mic jack, so like we needed a Mark II on that one, but we didn't even get the Mark I. The reality is we went from a Nikon DL with the 18 to 50 to a Nikon Z30 like 8 years later. That was a Kingfisher, wasn't it? Damn life. Is it much better? Like, yes, APS-C sensor, but same exact specs. 120 frames per second. You know the Nikon 1 series? 1-inch interchangeable lenses? That was doing like 8,000 frames a second or something like that. It looked like utter trash. It was like 240p, if not 140p resolution. But like it had super slow-mo. Where's any of that anymore? They don't do it at all. none of their cameras have anything over 120. You know, photographers and videographers are playing the same game here. There's only two specs we're working on: resolution and frames per second. The only difference is video shooters' frames per second makes more sense than your stupid. The higher you get, the more photos you have to weed through. It's like, oh, right, I'm shooting 90 frames per second here. I have how many photos? 6,003. Oh no. So somewhere along the yard line, we forgot the game that we're playing, which is higher frame rates for video. And like every company has removed that. So that's annoying. And perhaps you think smartphones are the future and they're immune to this. They always get better, right? No. I saved a picture, Huawei P40 Pro versus the new Huawei P60 Pro. In fact, I'm gonna go home to go through this little list. How dare you make me work again once I get home? I'll be tired from the walk, asshole. I'm so tired. What a long walk. I can't believe I have to work. How dare you? Huawei P40 Pro sensor, 1/1.28 versus the new one, bigger, right? No, 1/0.143. So the percentage of 1 inch, P40 Pro wins. What are we doing? So we have a smaller sensor, we can do more with it though, right? Better specs. No, we do have 2 less megapixels. I like the direction we're heading on that, but it's like still 10 times too many, whatever. And your lens, 1.4 to 4 instead of just the 1.9. Okay, you got a half a quarter of a done stop. I don't mind you. Thank you. I'm not gonna like reward you with jelly gum, but whatever, we're moving on. When it comes to the wide angle camera, same story. Smaller sensor again, less megapixels, good, potentially. Tony stops, 1.8 down to 2.2. We lost Tony stops. That's gonna be a bullshit ultra wide. Look at me. The only real improvement is on the telephoto lens. Like, who cares about that thing? Freaking more megapixels, slightly bigger sensor. No one cares. You're a loser. And less reach. 90 mil. What are you gonna do with a 90 mil on a phone? Oh man, I had 125 mil. And when it comes to slow motion specs, we get 7,680 frames on the P40 Pro down to 960 on the P60. We're doing away with what we could already do. And that is the theme that companies seem to be heading in. Oh, we can do stuff. I won the Olympic gold medal. I'm gonna shoot for bronze this time. See if I can get bronze. You're a loser. And that brings us to Penny Boy. You once had a tiny system. It was worth using you. You were tinier than all others, yet you still had superior stabe. You've gotten away from that a little bit, haven't you? You kept the stabe, but you bloated up like a belly fish, if that's a thing. You ate too many hot dogs with ice cream sandwiches. How big do you need to be? GH6 is bigger than any full frame camera I know of, except maybe a Nikon, since they're also fat, they eat at the same ice cream sandwich buffet. If we're talking realness, we need another tiny, micro, super stable, 4/3 non-loser camera with 4K 240p somehow. Come on. You know, I've been down this trail like 6 times since this sign has been up. It's clearly not closed yet. Why? Why are you doing this? Wait till it's actually closed and then maybe put the sign up. So it's a strange thing where companies abandon the thing that made us fall in love with them. I don't get it. Panasonic with your stabe and your lightness. Like, wow, micro 4/3, all my full frame gear, it's on eBay now. I'm about to get ripped off. Yeah. Sony with their tiny camera and ultra wide lenses. Sony is so allergic to ultra wide. Every single time it's like, okay, you need ultra wide, all right. Do you mind this giant 45% crop though? We do mind. We really mind. It kind of undoes your wideness. It crops into a no longer wide at all lens. I hate you. So do what got you to the dance, companies. Nobody wants to see Tiger Woods do frickin' bowling. I would not pay for that. You were good at one thing. Keep doing that thing until we're bored of you and we no longer support you. I think it's a good deal. So thank you for watching. Do you agree? Are there other examples of companies who are just abandoning the thing that made them so good? Yeah, every single one. I couldn't even think of one Canon example that had something I loved. It was color science. I think it's worse on a lot of new cameras. It's not the same Canon. Ah! A bug touched my hand. I'm gonna leave. How you doing? Subscribing for more videos. I'll see you in the next one.